Welcome to Maker's Corner Crafts. I'm Michelle. Have you ever wanted to make stickers? Are you getting the results you want? There's one product you have to have when you make stickers: sticker paper or printable vinyl. Choosing the right print paper or vinyl for your project is key to getting the best looking, best sticking, and most durable stickers possible. This is most important if you're selling them, but can be just as important if you're really into making your own. Today we're focusing on printable vinyl only. I'm going to talk about 9 brands of printable vinyl and how they measured up against each other. I'll show you a winner and a runner-up in the matte and glossy categories and one budget pick. We'll talk about how they printed and cut, their sturdiness and stickiness, and how they held up with water. Let's get started. I chose 4 glossy and 5 matte printable vinyl and 1 holographic sticker paper just for the fun of it. The glossy vinyl I chose are J&J Packaging, HDV Ront, Ava, Zykoto, and Voco. Voco is the holographic waterproof sticker paper. Zykoto and Ava are listed as water resistant, and the J&J Packaging is listed as tear and scratch resistant. All of these vinyls are popular, highly rated, and used by many. So how do they feel? Well, the ones with the highest sheen tended to actually feel a bit rougher than the ones with a bit less sheen. The J&J and HDV Ront felt nice and smooth. The matte tended to feel the same since there was no gloss to make them feel more slick. I will say though that when using the brayer after printing to press the vinyl down to the matte, Ava and HDV Ront were surprisingly a little bit tacky, like sticky, even though HDV Ront had a good feel to it before printing. A few had non-blank backings. The Zykoto, Orajet, and Cricut all had markings on the back. I want to mention the Cricut printable vinyl specifically. The first thing I noticed was the ink. It was feathering and bleeding, and some of the straight lines were blurred. Now, I cut it on rice paper, and that did fine, but I tried a second time and cut it on washi tape to see how it would do compared to the rice paper, since it's a medium thickness vinyl, and it did really well with it. When I printed it, it came out wet and it required some drying time. It's the only paper that came out wet. There were a few spots that were missing ink and it was noticeable. There was feathering and bleeding around some of the stickers and the lines were blurry. There were a few spots that were missing ink and it was noticeable. But I want to mention again the washi tape and how well it did with the medium thickness vinyl. I used more pressure and the kiss cut came out perfectly. So you can give that a try if rice paper doesn't work well for you, or start with that right out of the gate. Just so you know, the reason I went with rice paper this time is because I haven't had the best luck in the past with the regular washi tape setting. So I was surprised at how well it worked with this vinyl. But now I'm using the washi tape 0.06 millimeter setting instead of plain washi tape. Okay, so let's talk about vibrancy or how it looked. Let's hit the matte vinyl first, as it was the most interesting. I'll get right to it. One paper stood leaps and bounds above the rest, and I was so surprised that there was that much of a difference. It was the Silhouette brand. What caught my attention was the van windshield. There are streaks of yellow in it, and they were almost imperceptible in all of the other brands except 2, and it was very visible in the Silhouette. So I compared it to the other stickers, and the color in each of the Silhouette stickers was more saturated and brighter than the others. The only other vinyl that came close was the Expressions vinyl brand. So you're going to pay for the quality of these vinyl brands. Silhouette is the most expensive, and Expression vinyl comes in at $1 a sheet. I'll talk about the prices in a minute, but if you're serious about stickers, you won't balk at the price tag of Silhouette because there's no comparison to be had. And if you're selling stickers, the quality will be superb. There's no loss of quality either with a transparent vinyl liner on top to give it gloss and protection. So take that into consideration when you're choosing your sticker brand. As for the glossies, they were a bit more difficult to choose a winner and runner-up, but we did get it done. I enlisted some other opinions because my eyes were not as discerning as others. We were of 2 minds as to the best glossies, so I'll list both here. If you want a glossy gloss, go for the Zykoto. It has a high gloss, a nice vibrancy, and it cuts beautifully on the rice paper setting with more pressure. If you want a more demi-gloss, go for the HDV Ront. It also prints and cuts great, and it looks beautiful. Now, I did pick a budget buy in case you really like the Zykoto like I do, but you want to save some money. I like the J&J packaging brand as a less expensive one if you're making your own but want to save some money. It also has a super high sheen to it if you want extra sheen. It has almost an oil sheen. It's not as inexpensive as the HTV Ront, but if your front runner is the Zykoto and you like super glossy, this is a great runner-up for you. It just depends on how much gloss you like and what price point you like. And don't forget, if you're planning on putting laminate or transparent vinyl on them to make them waterproof, it's really all about the vibrancy, print, and cut anyway, because the sheen will come from that. My suggestion, try the Zykoto unless you need a blank backing. If you need a blank backing, try the HTV Ront and the J&J packaging and see which one you like best. So just to go over them again, your winners and runner-up for matte are Silhouette and Expressions Vinyl, and for glossies, there's Zykoto and HTV Ront with J&J packaging as a budget pick. The vinyl range in price from 36 cents to $1.74 a sheet. Some have really great packaging that can be reused, and some have terrible packaging that need to be replaced after opening the package. Silhouette came in at the most expensive at $1.74 a sheet, and HTV Ront came in at the least expensive at 36 cents a sheet. Now, all of this was taken on April 11th, 2022. By the way, HTV Ront has awesome packaging that you can even reuse when you're done, while you'll need something else to hold your Silhouette after you open it. So here are the prices. The Voco comes in with 20 sheets for $13. Zykoto has 15 sheets for $12. Ava, 15 sheets for $13.75. HTV Ront, 40 sheets for $14.59, so that's your cheapest. J&J Packaging has 15 sheets for $8.99. Orajet is $1.50 a sheet. Cricut Printable Vinyl is 10 sheets for $12.49. Joyeza is 25 sheets for $16.97. Expressions Vinyl is $1 a sheet. And Silhouette is 8 sheets for $13. These prices, again, were taken on April 11th, 2022. Okay, so now that the winners are out of the way, let's get more specific. Let's talk about printing. My printer is a Canon TS9521C all-in-one wireless photo printer. I really like this printer, but it does use ink pretty quickly. The ink isn't too expensive though. So the glossies first. All of the glossies came out dry. None of them needed additional time out of the printer. I do have a rear feeding tray, and I use that for all of them because some of the vinyl is a little thicker or has thicker backing paper than others. I didn't have any issues with bleed or poor printing such as fuzzy lines except with the Cricut brand. As for cutting, I used the rice paper setting for all of the vinyl except when I put transparent vinyl on the top for waterproofing. Then I used glossy vinyl permanent setting with more pressure. I used a Cricut Maker 3 and it read the registration marks on all of the glossy vinyl, but I was a normal light with some shadowing. One time I cut a glossy sheet in high level lighting and it still read the registration lines just fine. I used more pressure on the Zykoto, HTV Ront, and Ava. The Voco wouldn't take with more pressure in 2 passes, so I ended up cutting it on the sticker paper setting, which gave it a die cut, or cut all the way through. The rest I cut on rice paper only. I didn't use the deep blade like it asked for. I used the fine point blade instead. For most, the cut was fine. Next time, again, I might use washi tape to see how it does. Zykoto and HTV Ront, which are glossies, are really thin stickers no matter how thick or thin their backing paper is, and the rice paper cut with more pressure was absolutely perfect for them. Both were cut with more pressure. Of course, their thinness becomes less of an issue when you put transparent vinyl on top. The Ava and Silhouette needed second passes on rice paper with more pressure. I did a second sheet of the Silhouette vinyl on washi 0.06 millimeter setting with more pressure, and it came out very similar to rice paper with more pressure. Maybe a tiny bit cleaner, but it only needed 1 pass instead of 2. So I would recommend this setting instead of rice paper with more pressure for at least the Silhouette and the Ava. The Orajet 1917, which is matte, wasn't anything to write home about, especially with its cost, but the rice paper setting worked really well. We already discussed the Cricut brand, and the Joyeza was actually comparable to the J&J and the Expressions vinyl. So the J&J won out over the Joyeza due to the fact that it was a little less expensive and just a bit glossier. but you'd be hard-pressed to dislike it even side by side. And if you couldn't get J&J packaging because it was out of stock, Joyeza would make a good substitute. Let's talk about sturdiness. I ran the sturdiness test a couple of different ways. The items I chose to put the stickers on were the back of an iPad, a phone case, some envelopes, a tumbler, and a glass jar. I tested for peeling, tearing, scratching, indentation, how hard it was to remove the stickers from its backing, and how hard it was to remove from the item. When I talk about our winners and runners-up, Zykoto, HDV Ront, Silhouette, and Expressions Vinyl, I'm talking about those with the transparent vinyl on them, because in almost every case, you're going to want to use the sticker with the vinyl on it for waterproofing or to make them glossy. If it's one of the winning vinyls without the transparent vinyl on top, I'll say so. To test for peeling, I picked at each one of the stickers with my fingernails pretty hard. I was able to get a few to lift. Now, most people wouldn't be doing this, so it's more representative of how sturdy the sticker is over time getting knocked around. And I picked at them very, very hard. Of our winners, the HTV Ront, Expressions Vinyl, and Silhouette would not peel. The Zykoto did. The Voco also did, and that's the holographic sticker paper, as did the J&J packaging. So those two are a little more sensitive than the others. Now, as for tearing, I couldn't at all tear the Zykoto or the Silhouette. They would rather have stretched out than tear, and I gave it my all. The Expressions Vinyl was extremely difficult to tear, but the HDV Ront tore easily, even with the transparent vinyl on top. I also couldn't tear the Budget Pick J&J packaging, even with the transparent vinyl. The Cricut vinyl tore like paper, and the Orajet wouldn't tear at all. I also couldn't tear the Joyeza. As for scratching and indenting, it was a real mixed bag. I can't recommend the holographic Voco. The scratching and indents were so bad, I immediately gave it a non-recommendation. The Zykoto had almost no scratching and no indentations, while the HDB Ront had no scratches, and it was hard to indent. I couldn't scratch the Expressions Vinyl, and there was little to no indentations when I tried, and the Silhouette had little or no scratches and almost no indentations when I tried to mess it up. As for others, the Ava looked good with no scratching, but had a moderate number of indentations. J&J had no scratches, but an average amount of indentations. Orajet had no scratches and no indentations. Cricut had both, and Joyeza had neither. So how hard was it to remove these stickers from their backing? Well, most of these were cut on the rice paper setting, and some were cut with more pressure. The easiest ones to remove were the Zykoto and the HDV Ront, the Silhouette, J&J packaging, and Joyeza. There was one that was really, really difficult, and it was Expressions Vinyl, and that was with and without the transparent vinyl on top. It really needed a different setting than rice paper with more pressure when I didn't have the transparent vinyl on top, and glossy permanent vinyl with more pressure with the transparent vinyl on top. It's a pretty thick vinyl. Next time I might try cardstock with less pressure. I didn't get the opportunity to try because I only had a few sheets. Last, let's talk about water tests. I tested heavy water resistance and waterproofing. For water resistance, I sprinkled water all over the tumbler several times and let it beat up and dry naturally in between. Then I hand washed them for a long time, 3 separate times. For waterproof testing, I submerged the phone case for 5 minutes in a tub of water. I only tested the stickers with the transparent vinyl topper, and the only vinyl that said it was waterproof was the Voco holographic, which I'd already ruled out. From the very first water test, the Silhouette sticker that didn't have transparent vinyl on top lost all of its ink. So I can easily say that if you're going to use the Silhouette stickers, and they are superior in vibrancy, you'll want to use laminate or transparent vinyl over them to make them waterproof. From there, the other stickers that didn't have transparent vinyl, HTV Ront, Zykoto, Expressions Vinyl, all of them didn't bead, but they didn't run either. They were water resistant. The stickers that did have transparent vinyl, the other copies of Zykoto, HTV Ront, and Expressions Vinyl, and even Silhouette, behaved exactly as you would expect. They beaded up beautifully and did not run. The only sticker that didn't meet the test was the Silhouette without any protective cover. The Expressions vinyl sticker is super thick, so I felt like it wasn't a good fit on the tumbler. I liked the HTV Romp with the transparent vinyl. It had a nice gloss, and it's a thin sticker, so it felt good on. The Zykoto is a little thicker, but also feels good on the tumbler with the transparent vinyl topper. Now, let's talk about waterproofing. I tested the 4 winners and runners-up that have transparent vinyl as a topper. I submerged them in water on a phone case for 5 full minutes. I pulled it out and dried it off. I further let it dry completely because I learned that Ava, without any transparent vinyl on top, will scratch off unless you let it dry completely. Then it acts like it was never in water. Okay, so here are my findings. All 4 of them produced the same results. There was no lifting, peeling, or loss of color. I couldn't scratch anything off of them. I couldn't pull them off the phone case. They were stuck on there just as they were before. They looked great and were shiny and glossy. Everything was just as it was before I put them in the water. It was basically a wash. The only thing I learned is that maybe some stickers will reset their colors after a big dunk if you let them dry long enough, and that was by sheer accident. So let's talk about paper. The paper behaved as expected. As an envelope backing, they worked great. Perfect for closing wedding or party invitations, adding a little flair. When I tried to open the envelopes, I tried really hard to keep them intact, but they tore. I couldn't get any to remove in one piece. So if you're going to use any for planner stickers, you may want to take a look at some that are specifically removable if you need to move your stickers around. Okay, so what did I learn? Well, I learned that if you want great stickers, you're going to pay for them. I learned that glossy stickers are a lot cheaper than matte, that most stickers are fairly hardy except for tearing. I was surprised at how easily the ones that tore did tear, and was really surprised at how hard it was to tear the ones that wouldn't or couldn't be torn. There really was no middle ground. Almost all of the stickers had problems with indentations, but not with scratching the color off. That surprised me too. In the water department, I was surprised at how well the stickers with no toppers stood up with water resistance. Of course, no matter what, I will still laminate or put transparent vinyl on top of whatever printable vinyl I'm using. Overall, I'm most satisfied with the Silhouette and the Zykoto, but as a backup, I would use the J&J packaging. But there are several other options as runner-up that are just as good. The HTV Romp is a great choice, especially with a laminate, and has a fabulous price point. And the Expressions vinyl is a really good vinyl as well. In fact, it would be my #1 choice for heavy-duty stickers, like bumper stickers or anything that required weatherproofing for outdoor use, particularly when you add an outdoor transparent vinyl like Oracal 651. Well, that's all I have for now, but if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like down below. Sign up for my mailing list to get more great content like this. The link is in the description. Let me know what you use for stickers in the comments. Until then, happy crafting!